While you were playing footage of me killing them, I was counting the knots in the rope. The third knot was tied wrong, and I corrected the medical examiner right there in court. The room froze for a second, then everything detonated into noise, outrage, and disbelief all at once. I said it clearly, without hesitation, yes, I did it, and let the words settle. My name is Emily Hayes, a public high school teacher in Chicago, assigned to regular classes. No one remembered me, not really, they only remembered Olivia Grant and everything attached to her name. She stood on the witness stand, shaking, crying, barely able to keep her voice from breaking apart. Her class had 40 students, every single one accepted into Ivy League schools without exception. Parents in the front row stood up shouting, "She killed her own daughter, you monster, look at her." Someone rushed the defendant's bench but got slammed down and restrained by 2 federal marshals instantly. Another parent pressed a photograph against the glass, screaming, "Look closely, that's my son," repeatedly. The prosecutor didn't pause or react, he continued reading, his voice steady, motive, jealousy, without emotion. I nodded once, calmly, as if acknowledging a minor correction instead of a life-ending accusation. The judge leaned forward slightly and asked, "Where is your daughter in all of this?" I answered, "Number 17, and the words landed heavier than anything else said that day. Someone dropped to their knees, someone else covered their mouth, unable to process what they had heard. Reporters leaned in, cameras nearly touching my face, searching for something human, something they could capture. "You feel any remorse at all?" one of them asked, voice cutting through the silence like glass. I looked straight into the lens and said, "No," without blinking, without softening, without offering anything more. The gallery erupted again, louder, uglier, a mix of anger, grief, and something dangerously close to relief. My lawyer stopped writing entirely, leaned closer, and whispered, "You're destroying yourself with this strategy right now." I ignored him completely and raised my hand, speaking clearly, "I would like to file an appeal." Laughter spread from the back rows, low at first, then growing, feeding on itself like a wave. "She's insane," someone muttered, just trying to stall for time before they put her down. No one believed I would survive any of this, not legally, not publicly, not in any sense. The footage kept replaying on television, over and over, looping my actions into something mechanical, inhuman, final. In the video, I was in a banquet hall, tightening ropes one by one with steady, practiced movements. My hands never shook, I moved like someone following instructions, executing a process already decided long ago. Someone slowed the footage frame by frame and pointed out, she even adjusted the angle deliberately, comments flooded in saying, "There's no emotion there, and she moves like a machine." Not a person. I told my lawyer to go to the school. To film Olivia Grant's class for an entire day. He stared at me like I had lost my mind and snapped, "What does that have to do with anything?" I said, "Just record her entire routine, and nothing more, because explaining would have ruined everything too early." He slammed the door when he left, but he still went, even if it was just to prove me wrong. The next day he came back, threw his phone on the table, and said, "She's perfect, unbelievably perfect. 5 in the morning arrival, midnight departure, every student focused. Every movement efficient, every second optimized," he added. I asked him quietly, "Did anyone blink slower than the others, even once, even by accident?" He frowned, confused, and said, "What are you even asking me right now, Emily? That doesn't make sense." I looked at him and repeated, "Did anyone lag, even for a second, even slightly out of sync?" He didn't answer immediately, and that silence was the first confirmation I needed from him. I said, "Go again," and he refused, standing up, saying, "I'm not playing along with this anymore." On the third day, he went back on his own without telling me, without arguing, without asking questions. When he returned, his hands were shaking, and he couldn't meet my eyes at first. He pushed the phone toward me, showing footage of a student dropping a spoon during lunch. The boy didn't pick it up immediately. Instead, he looked toward the teacher, waiting for something invisible. Only after a subtle nod did he bend down and retrieve it, like a delayed command had been issued. My lawyer spoke first this time, voice lower. "That's not normal, not in any classroom I've seen. I nodded slightly and asked, "What else did you notice? Anything consistent, anything repeating across different students?" He scrolled through more clips showing synchronized page turns, identical chewing rhythms, movements aligned like a single organism. "It's impossible," he whispered, almost to himself. "People don't function like this, not even trained groups." The video was uploaded online, and comments poured in praising discipline, structure, and elite academic conditioning. "That's what excellence looks like," they wrote, completely missing what was actually happening beneath the surface. On the day of the first verdict, the courtroom felt like a celebration waiting for its final moment. "Death penalty, effective immediately," the judge declared, and applause broke out before anyone could stop it. "Finally over," someone said, like they had been waiting for closure rather than justice this entire time. I remained standing, unmoving, letting the noise pass through me before speaking again. "I am appealing." The judge frowned and asked, "Do you have any new evidence to support this request at all?" I said, "No," and the laughter came back louder, sharper, more certain than before. The next day, during the second hearing, I changed my statement for the first time. "I didn't do it," I said, and the courtroom exploded instantly, chaos swallowing every corner of the room. People slammed into barriers, shouting, "She's lying now," and "Execute her right here, right now." The judge's gavel couldn't restore order. Not when emotion had already overtaken everything rational in that space. The prosecutor stood and said, "She confessed on record, and we have clear video evidence supporting everything." He pointed at the screen and ordered, "Play the footage." With absolute confidence in what it would prove. The screen lit up, showing me, the ropes, the children, the sequence repeating exactly as before. Some people covered their eyes, others cried openly, unable to separate the image from their own loss. I waited until it ended before asking, "When exactly did they die?" "According to your analysis," the medical examiner answered, "cause of death was suffocation," as if that closed the question entirely. I nodded once and said, "What about brain activity? When did their brain functions actually stop?" He hesitated, confused, and asked, "What are you implying here? What difference does that make?" I repeated the question, and for the first time, the courtroom fell into complete silence. The prosecutor frowned and said, "That detail is irrelevant," but his voice lacked the certainty from before. I looked at him and said, "Then test it, and let the implications settle across the room." The judge paused, then ordered additional testing, and everything shifted quietly from that single decision. Days later, the courtroom reopened, but this time no one was shouting, no one was interrupting anything. Everyone was waiting, tense, watching the screen as the new report appeared in front of them. Brain scans were displayed, enlarged, showing thin golden filaments wrapped tightly around neural structures inside each subject. Someone gasped audibly, unable to process what they were seeing, something far beyond normal medical explanation. The expert said, "A parasitic entity," and the words alone changed the direction of the entire case. "It enhances focus, strengthens memory, and allows behavioral control across multiple hosts within a connected system," he explained. People in the gallery began to move backward, instinctively creating distance from something they didn't understand at all. "The cost is life," he continued, "and once the objective is completed, it initiates a feedback collapse." They were already brain dead before the banquet, he added. And someone collapsed into their seat immediately. "Then what were we seeing in the footage?" someone asked, voice barely holding together under pressure. "Residual control signals," the expert answered, and the silence afterward felt heavier than any shouting before. I didn't look at the screen, I looked at Olivia Grant instead, watching her carefully. She had stopped crying entirely, she was listening, waiting, like she always did in her classroom. The expert continued, "She carries the primary host, forming a control chain across all connected individuals." When those words landed, she smiled, not breaking down, but releasing something she had been holding tightly. She looked at the parents and said, "You didn't come to me for their happiness, not really." No one answered her, not immediately, because deep down they understood what she was saying. "You wanted results," she continued, raising her hand like she was still teaching a lesson. "I simply ensured consistent output," she added, calm, controlled, completely detached from what they expected. One father rushed forward shouting, "That was my son, my only son," before being restrained again. He received his acceptance letter, she replied. "Weren't you proud when you saw it arrive?" The man stopped speaking entirely, standing there, hollow, as if something inside him had been removed. No one defended her, no one attacked me anymore. The room had lost its sense of direction. I stood there, like a verdict that had been erased, rewritten, and left without a final conclusion. The case was overturned, and I was escorted out, people approaching but stopping before reaching me. Reporters surrounded me again, asking, "Did you know all of this before everything happened?" I didn't answer. I kept walking down the steps, hearing sirens in the distance, more than one. I paused for a second, not because of the sound, but because I remembered something important. That night, my daughter looked at me without struggling, without fear, just waiting for something from me. When I tightened the rope, she closed her eyes quickly, far faster than any of the others. I reached the street, the wind colder now, people watching me from a distance, afraid to approach. I heard someone whisper, was she saving them or killing them? And no one had an answer. I stood there and remembered what Olivia said about being invited to replicate this somewhere else soon. Not one class this time, but many, expanding the system, scaling it beyond anything we had seen. I looked up at the sky, sunlight bright, indifferent, as if nothing had happened at all. And I said nothing.